All right, you knew it was coming. It's me. More than one of y'all told me before I left that Venezuela probably wouldn't be the same when I got back, so thanks. Didn't bother to tell me that I wouldn't be the same. I want to first thank everybody for all your prayers and your support that you offered up to us, to the Lord while we were down there. Brother Jeff and the rest of them were right. We could feel them. Things happened that couldn't have happened any other way had the Lord's hand not been in it. It was a great trip on from the standpoint of the souls that were saved. One would have been more than worth the trip, but the better than 400 was it was unbelievable. It was my honor and privilege to be there with the men I went with. Each and every one of them were a true blessing. The things they did and the way they conducted themselves, those people were like a big sponge. They soaked up everything they said, every action they did, and they were more than willing to receive the gospel. Brother Jeff led some of the Venezuelan men are by nature, it's the Latin image, they're big macho and everything else. Brother Jeff stood out in the middle of a field, softball field, and led better than 30 of them to the Lord. Presented the gospel to them. They all stood there and listened. There wasn't none of this jabbering over in the corner with each other or anything else. You could have heard a cricket except for Brother Jeff when he gave the gospel to them. Brother Keith Ashley, bless his heart, he was a blessing to watch. I got to watch him for a little bit when he'd do his basketball clinic. He'd go to a basketball court, and we had to go buy basketballs because theirs were, some of them were trying to play with a soccer ball. I mean, it's whatever they had. They didn't have anything. But we'd show up, and Brother Keith would go out there with a basketball and an interpreter, and he'd line them up. He'd show them their moves, and I got to watch him. And any of you that know basketball and the basics of basketball and everything, he started out with 3 rules of basketball: foundation, form, and follow through. Now he taught all of these kids, men and women. He taught kids. He did held a clinic for women, for small kids, teenagers, and men. I mean, we didn't have any shame. We'd do it to everybody. But he'd go with the foundation, the form, and the follow-through. And when he'd get through, he'd huddle them all the way around and whatnot, and he put it in he presented the gospel through. Foundation is Jesus. Form is the life you lead as a Christian, and follow-through is going to heaven. And the man won, I don't know how many, to the Lord, led them to the Lord that way. I thought, my Lord. And bless his heart, he told me, he said, I've been a basketball coach for years. He said, I've never led a kid to the Lord in the States. He said, I didn't think I could because I figured I would get in trouble for it. He said, we got a new day a-coming. Amen. Amen. It was inspiring, I mean, to see him work. Brother David Harrison, that man is a card. He caused more trouble than anybody I've ever seen. But he was a lot of, he was an inspiration. All these men were. I watched Brother David. They had some new converts from Quigway that had invited 20 people over to their house to hear the missionaries. They wanted a missionary to come speak to them. Now, these people hadn't been Christians 2 weeks, and they're done inviting 20 people in their neighborhood over to hear the missionaries come. Can't say that much about America, can you? Brother David went down there to speak with them, and Brother Thomas and I went with them. We tried to stay in at least pairs while we were down there, more or less for safety and whatnot, but we wanted to hear him speak to him, give him support and whatnot. We got down there, and it was in the middle of the jungle. Literally. You open the front door and you can pick a banana off a tree. Mosquitoes. Brother Thomas got scars on his leg from them mosquitoes and things like an airplane buzzing you when you hear them coming down there. But we were sitting on, and the porch has bars around it. Everything down there is concrete and block, and everything has bars. Like I told the training union class, you'd think you was in Lebanon and the war was going on. I mean, it's hard to imagine until you've seen it. But you don't just go up and open the door to a house. It don't happen that way. You go up to the gate and holler, "Bueno." And in a minute, when I'm going to stick her head around and see who you are and what you want. We carried an interpreter with us down there in the jungle. His name was Elion, but he said, "Call me Daniel." I said, "Well, I can say Elion. Fred probably can't." But Fred had a name for everybody, and it wasn't the real one. But Daniel was real good. I mean, he's an international, or he's working with the International Mission Board and whatnot as a translator and whatnot, and as a missionary. Did an excellent job. We went in this porch. These people we'd never seen before, never heard, didn't know who they were, nothing about them or whatnot. And when we got there was only 5 or 6 there, and they're supposed to have been better than 20. Well, the longer we went in and sat around the edge of the porch, it had bars on it. Hot. You can't imagine how hot it is in Venezuela. You've been there. It'll smother you if you're not careful. Wind wasn't blowing. Down in the jungle, mosquitoes eating you up. We come and lead people to the Lord. It doesn't get much better than that. I mean, you think about all your miseries and everything else, and in a little bit, Thomas says, there's a couple of small children on the porch. He said, "I'm going to give them kids some candy." I said, "Don't do it yet, Thomas." So, "I'm going to give them some candy." I said, "Don't do it. We won't be able to get out of here." Think about giving candy in Venezuela or anything else. Like I told the training union class, if you stand in the middle of a 5 or a 40-acre field and there's one child there and you slip him a piece of bubble gum or something, in the span of 5 minutes, there'll be 500 standing there. I don't know where they come from, if they shoot a flare up or what. They ain't got a phone, so I know it ain't that, but blows in the wind, they smell the sugar or what. But Thomas was like, "I'm going to give him some candy." I said, "Don't do it, Thomas. Wait till it's over with." "No, I've got to give him some candy." He digs in his backpack, and out comes the candy. Well, in a span of about a minute and a half, here comes the herd. And the good thing about that, though, is they brought the parents with them. We had a porch full there, and Brother David brought his message. He spoke to him and gave him the plan of salvation. And was it 7? I believe it was 7. In some of the most miserable and squalid conditions that I've ever seen. And I've seen some ugly stuff, but 7 people came to know the Lord on that front porch. I mean, it couldn't help but touch your heart. I mean, the children, they just climb all over you. They didn't care if you had anything or not. Before you give them anything, they just come up to you, hug on you, and anything you want to do. Some of the most beautiful children I've ever seen. Sweet. They just smile at you. Be dirty from head to toe. Barefoot. Brother Thomas carried socks down there that some of you, I guess, had donated and whatnot. We'd give them a pair of socks, and Christmas came early. I mean, it was unbelievable. Just the small things. Little bitty rings with a smiley face on it. You give it to them, it'd break your heart. They'd run off, and then they'd come back like, "No, that wasn't me. Give me another one." "Yeah, you look like your cousin Raul, huh?" But you couldn't help but, fall in love with these people. They were all so friendly, and they were also eager to hear what you had to say. You'd go in and you'd ask them, tell them, we're from America, and want to ask them a personal question. Now, somebody come up to you in America and say, "I want to ask you a personal question. What do you do?" I tell them, mind their own business. Down there, they're like, "Okay, go ahead and ask it." I said, "If you died right now, do you know that heaven would be your home?"